Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, everybody. You guys are super active on the chats this morning. Holy cow. It seems like everyone is up at 7 o'clock to get their early access to Under the Sea, and I love it. I am here for it. Oh my gosh. So I want to start first. Clearly, I've got some new set companions with me today because this week is Under the Sea week. Yay, the signups are coming. We have so much to talk about on that, but first we've got to get through a couple other things. Now, as we talk about Under the Sea, every time we sign up for a new Puzzle Mystery Quilt, we play a little game here in the shop where we decide which colorway we think is going to be first to sell out. And so we put all our names on a board and we pick which colorway we think is going to sell out first, and we give prizes inside the shop. And so we thought it might be fun to ask you guys. Today is the early release day. Tomorrow is the main signups. What colorway do you guys think is going to be the first one to sell out? So just go ahead and wherever you're watching this video, go ahead and put it into the comments, put it in the chat, and we'll see who's right. As we know, colorways typically sell out within 30 minutes tomorrow morning. And so which one do you guys think is going to be the first one to sell out? All right. We're going to start as we always do with questions submitted by you guys. And so simply go to cottoncuts.com/live to submit your question for show. They're on the desk. Paula hands them to me, and we could be surprised. I'm seeing a lot of people voting for Marina. Holy cow, Marina. People are getting Marina's going to be the first to sell out. Or Oasis. Okay, Marina. So guys in the shop, all the viewers think it's Marina, and I'm looking at our board, and no one has Marina, and Nate is standing there. So let's see if he takes the hint and puts Marina. All right. Way to go, Nate. You've got some insider information. All right, fantastic. Back to the questions, guys. Sorry, it's been like cold here. I see everyone checking in. It has been raining for like so many weeks here, and so that's why I got the jacket on today. But let's get to these questions. All right, the first one comes from Crystal Foster. Good morning, Crystal. I'm pretty sure you're on here. I think I saw your name. Crystal from Leodore, Idaho says, what permanent fabric markers do you prefer or have you had the best luck with? What fabric is the most compatible with them, colors available, and etc. Okay, so I'm gonna answer this in a couple different phases. So for me personally, if I am looking for permanent fabric marking, now I am not talking about marking for quilting lines or marking for seam allowance. This is the permanent marking, meaning I am wanting to make a permanent mark on a piece of fabric that is going to be seen and washed and ironed and all those things. I use the Prisma pens. I use the Pima pen, Paula, which are the pens? She just bolted off. I bet you she's probably trying to find one of these pens for me. So are you looking for one of the pens? All right, she laughs. All right. Someone in the shop is going to find one of these pens because we have them in the pin cups, but they're the ones that are the like light tan pins, and they're the micro tips, not those. They're going to find them. But they're and that's what we usually use when we've had ambassadors sign quilts, the tan pens, see, she put these questions here. You would think she would have like found this pen already, gang. It is, she was too busy so Paula couldn't get me the pen, guys, because she was darting over to the whiteboard to write Marina before Nate did. This is how wonky it is this morning, gang. We have been up early as well. I'm sorry. It is a Pigma Micron pen. So this is the pen that I use. It's a Pigma Micron pen, and it is an 08 millimeter. This you can find in stores. Pigma. Thank you, Marlene. That is definitely what I got. A Pigma pen. And they're micron, they're super fine tip. And so I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you guys can see it. So it is a super, super fine tip pen. This is what I use whenever I'm trying to permanently mark on fabric, trying to capture a signature, trying to capture an extended note. These pens are permanent. They get washed. They stay in there. Whenever we have ambassadors participate in quilt challenges for us, we want them to sign. This is the pen we send to them, and this is what we ask them to use. I know people, when they think permanent, want to go to a permanent marker, like the type with the big fat tips. Please don't do that. Those actually turn green over time. The tip is typically too big on a brush stroke, and it's not, when you iron it, that's going to turn green. So don't use a permanent marker like one of the big permanent markers. Please don't use that. That is not a great idea from a permanent perspective. Now you can try other pens. And so that's how we landed on this one. Was I went and I got a whole bunch of different pens, and we tested them on different fabrics and found which would iron the best, which would wash the best. And that's why this is the one I prefer. There's probably others. And so if you guys have a permanent marker you prefer, let's help Crystal out. Let's go ahead and put that in the comments of what you would suggest using. Now, I know that there's always those pens that people use when they're quilting that are supposed to, be released with heat and steam, but you put them in the freezer and they come back. All of those things are true. I don't know about you guys, but I don't oftentimes put my quilt in a freezer. I have taken it to a cold location. I will admit, soccer games can get pretty darn cold, but I'm not commonly keeping them in a freezer. But if that's a test that you feel compelled to want to put your marker through, then by all means, definitely test it. And all those warnings and disclaimers you hear, like test in a small corner and see if you like it, definitely do that before you start putting something on a piece of vintage fabric that you can't replace. Test, test, test. All right, colors available. So Crystal, I've only ever used black. I'm sure if you have other colors, if some people perhaps want to color in, I'm gonna take a little deviation here. So there is a whole book of people who use Crayola crayons to color in designs on fabric. And so you take the Crayola crayon and you actually color in a design that you've traced, most commonly with one of these pens. And so you color it in with the Crayola crayon, and then you use, I believe it's parchment paper, you use some measure of paper that you can iron, and the heat will take the wax out of the fabric, but leave the color behind. I have seen a large number of quilts that use this technique to color with Crayola crayons to transfer the color, but remove the wax. And so, Crystal, if you're looking for a wide variety of colors, the crayon method is definitely a way to go, but I would definitely recommend, you talk about, other fabrics that it's compatible with. I would be hesitant to do that with any sort of sheen or any sort of satin. That would be very challenging. Again, test in a small corner. Put it in an environment you think it would go through. If it's washed, if it's hand washed, if it's put in the freezer, if it's cold temperatures, all those things. Let's see here. Helen Branch is asking, what's the name of the fabric pen? Sorry, they actually got it for me. It is a Pigma Micron 08 pen. This is the one that we've tested that we like and we love. So that's this one. Mary, quite contrary. These pens do actually come in other colors. Thank you, Mary. I'm sure if you guys go to a Michael's, a big box retailer where they have the art departments, that's where these pens are usually kept. Let's see. Marlene's saying that crayons are used in baby quilts. Yeah, they're very pastel no matter how bright the crayon is. That is very true. You can color it, but understand the more you color, you're just adding more wax. You're not necessarily adding more pigment. Sorry, I just read a Pigma comment. You're not adding more color, you're just adding more wax. And so when you remove the wax from the fabric, it is going to be the color that is left behind. All right. Crystal, what a great question. Thank you so much for asking this. All right. Next up, we have Barb from San Antonio. How do I calculate how much fabric I need for binding? And do you have a favorite binding tip? Oh, we were actually just talking about this in the shop last week. So Carrie, who's in charge of our member care, has made her first quilt, but she's scared to do binding. And so we were trying to get her more comfortable. She says she's watched too many videos. She's read too many blogs. She is completely inundated on how to bind her first quilt. So I'll answer this first question. How do you calculate how much fabric you need for binding? And so I look at binding as a perimeter. So I'm going to take you guys back to high school geometry and middle school. And it's a perimeter question. So you need to take the dimensions of your quilt and you're going to actually calculate the perimeter of the quilt. If it's square, it's easy. Take dimension on one side, dimension on the other side, and get your total number of inches of length that you need for binding. Then you're going to divide that by 40-ish. I'm going to say 40-ish. Most fabric comes 40-inch with the fabric. Now, I'm going to assume that you're cutting with a fabric binding, not bias binding. Bias binding is an advanced skill that if you want to do bias binding, you definitely got to look at other tutorials than this. But assuming that it is a 40-inch piece of fabric, I would take whatever my total perimeter is, divided by 40, and then round up. If it's 2.8, round up to 3. That's how many strips with the fabric you are going to cut in order to fully encase the perimeter of your quilt. Now, the next question is, I'm going to cut 3 strips, 4 strips, 5 strips. What's my width that I'm going to cut those strips to? And that's a matter of personal preference. I would say the smallest I would dare to cut a binding strip is 2¼ inches. And that's because you want a super, super, super narrow hint of binding all the way around. I would say a more average number is 2½ inches. And then there's those folks that really like a thick binding, in which case it'd be 3 to 3½ inches. That is a matter of personal preference. That is a matter of testing. That 2¼ might not be comfortable enough for you to get around depending on your thickness of batting. And so you might want to go a little thicker. That is all in your wheelhouse and all depending on how you want to finish your quilt. If you want it to be thicker, thinner, depends on your batting. If you're using a heavy loft or a light loft, it all depends on several factors, but I would say nothing narrower. I mean, there are always people that will, take the challenge and do 2 inches. I would say 2¼ is probably the smallest I would ever do. I usually do the 2½. I know people that have done 3 and 3½. It's all personal preference. Now, my favorite binding tip. So I would say, whenever I get stuck on binding and I, forget or want a refresher, I love using Red Pepper Quilts tutorial for binding and how to create binding on quilts. And so she was the one that put together this tutorial that I found the most approachable for a beginner who wanted to do something more than just sew the top and the back together, flip it like you do in home ec and push out your corners. And that tutorial, I even look at it now. It's what I sent to Carrie last week and she was asking this question. I think it's from 2016. It's really, really old, but it still holds true. And it gives tips and tricks for how to cut your strips, what dimensions you should use, how you stitch them together. And her tip on how you join those binding strips together when they come together and how she measures them and cuts them and then flips and turns, and it's all the exact right length is amazing. And so I highly recommend Red Pepper Quilts. Just look Red Pepper Quilts binding tutorial and you will see how she makes those ends meet and how when she flips it, everything comes out completely perfectly. Joe Mosley is saying Robert Kaufman's Fabrics has an app for calculating binding and backing. That is absolutely true. That Robert Kaufman app has come in. We're going to talk about backing here in a little bit. It is fantastic for that. Let's see here. I'm hoping Oasis doesn't sell fast. It's my favorite. Erin, I'm hoping we have more Oasis for tomorrow. All right. Let's keep going. So Barb, thank you so much for the question. It's funny, Carrie just had the same question last week. Binding is one that you get to the end and you want to just be done with the quilt. And so definitely take the time, do the tutorials. If you finish your quilt and want to set it aside and then come back with a fresh brain to do binding, that is absolutely okay too. And I highly recommend it because you put so much effort and time to the quilt. You don't want to rush through the end for sure. All right. Thank you so much for your questions, guys. Go to cottoncuts.com/live to submit a question for us for next week. And we'll see where the conversation takes us. So thank you, Crystal, and thank you, Barb. Don't forget to give Streetmeyer permissions. I see you guys chatting away. You guys have definitely done a fantastic job at putting your name and giving permission so we can see you and say, like, we have 2 Marlenes that are just engaging in a Marlene conversation over here. So definitely make sure you give permissions. Let's see here. Stay to the end of the show. We're going to be talking about backing in a quilt here in a minute. We're going to give away a $25 gift certificate to the shop for one person that answers a question and hangs with me till the end. Let's see here. So what is happening in the shop this week? There's a lot of stuff hanging around me here. And so do we sell the t-shirts? So Beth, if you go to cottoncuts.com and you scroll a little bit down the page, there's a brand shop where we have a company that does some printing of these for us. Let's see here. Flat Nancy check-ins. So the Flat Nancy, I believe Paul is on the docket for next week, I want to say. Flat Nancy drawing is going to be next week, Erin. So definitely check in. Let's see here. Okay, so what is happening in the shop? Okay, in case you guys haven't heard, we've got this little mystery signing up called Under the Sea. That is our big announcement, is the Under the Sea signups. They open tomorrow at 7:00 a.m. So if you are just joining us, if you've never done PMQ before, definitely make sure to get there at 7:00 Central Time to make sure you get that colorway so that it doesn't sell out on you. Today, we have early signups. So we've seen some people saying, I signed up for this, I signed up for that, I signed up for this. So whenever we finish a mystery quilt, like we just finished Wild West, we always allow those detectives that just finished it to sign up a day early. So that way they can sleep in. That way they can take their time. That way they get their colorway of choice. Nothing has ever sold out the day early. Nothing. And so those folks get to take their time, get to work through the website. It's one of those perks of finishing. So next time when you finish Flyaway, you too will be given a day early access. It's just one of those perks. It also helps to kind of, if you finished one and you're looking for a new project, that way you don't necessarily have to wait and set your alarm with tomorrow morning. Now, if you're one of those people that did Wild West or Floral States, please check your email. I'm seeing a lot of posts on Facebook this morning, people saying they didn't get the email. Well, if you didn't do Wild West or Floral States, you definitely would not have gotten the email. Check your spam, check your trash. I know that there's some folks who said they got the email announcing the early signups. The link is in there, guys. I promise it is all in one place. Also, if you got your Clue 10 email that told you how to assemble Wild West, the link is in there as well. So if you still have that Clue 10 email, check the link. If you have the email, please check the link. Please check spam. If you're emailing into us, we will get you the link as fast as we can. But definitely, please be sure that you know you're supposed to get early access. We're seeing a lot of that. We're getting folks asking for early access that didn't actually do Wild West. So please make sure you have early access. Check your spam, check your trash. I've even seen here where we're getting questions about borders and backing and all the other things. So on the very first page, I'm going to talk about this as if it's tomorrow. So for tomorrow, when you go to get started, which Paula has on the screen now, cottoncuts.com/get-started, on the main page, right on the top, it'll tell you, do you want to prepay or do you want to do month to month? And then immediately right under that are two buttons, and one says backing and one says extras. And so after you add your month to month or your month to month or your prepaid into the cart, you come back to that page and you can add backing and you can add borders. I'm going to tell everyone all the backing and the extras, those are on the website today. So if you know what colorway you're going to sign up for tomorrow, you can get your backing today. You can get your borders today. You can get your oops kits today. You can get all that stuff today. And it's all live on the website now. So definitely just go to that website. If you have early access, go to that special page and those two buttons are right there. And pick your colorway and you're off and running. All right. Let's see here. So Marlene is asking if it was missed with shipwreck. The only options were thread and color cards. So it sounds like, Marlene, you were doing a prepaid option. And so when you do prepaid, it's thread and color cards because that's what's included in the prepay. The borders are an add-on. The backing is an add-on. The Stitch It border accent as well, which you guys are going to want to consider for this one because the border is solid. It's not going to be wonky like it was for Wild West, but all of those are separate. So if you have any questions, guys, send us an email. Like I said, nothing sells out today. So there's no fires. There's no emergencies. We will get Carrie, I know, is working. Cheryl is probably going to be on the phone all day today. So just be patient, everyone. All right. What do we have next? All right. So what we're doing differently for Under the Sea as well is we have a mystery matchup. We've picked 6 ambassadors and they are picking each other's colorway and we will announce it close to when the clues ship as to who's doing what. They don't know. They had a friend pick out their colorway for them. It's always fun and exciting because sometimes people pick what they like and sometimes people pick a challenge colorway. And so I'll be interested to see how many pick a challenge colorway versus picking something that they think the ambassador is going to like. Let's see here. All right. Then we have clue 5 for flyaway. So I know when we start getting into like Under the Sea, it's all the sea creature stuff that's hanging out behind me. Flyaway is still going on, and we were at the midpoint of Flyaway. And so clue 5 for Flyaway is going to ship next Friday. Now, you guys, I know we're going to get a lot of emails. This is going to happen. I guarantee you they're already coming in. Where's my clue 5? It seems like it's been forever. Where is my clue 5? I haven't got my clue 5. Please send my clue 5. So guys, they always ship the first Friday of the month, which is next week. May was a long month. The days just fit on a weird day. So it is going to ship next Friday to you. Make sure you guys give it 2 weeks in order to get to you. The mail, of course, we're entering summer vacation mode. So postal carriers have subs. And so it is going to take a little bit of time. Please allow 2 weeks for it to get to you. And so I know that I even saw where's my clue 5 post on Facebook, I think 2 weeks ago, guys. Please, please, please check your inserts. It has your ship dates. It has the renewal dates. It has all that stuff in there so that we know when things are coming to you. I promise you, we are not holding it here because we want to drag it out. They are going to ship next Friday on time. All the fabric's already cut. They will be kit next week and they will go out the door on time. All right, Tim Holtz teal. So I showed these to you guys last week. I showed a couple of bolts. I want to show you guys these teals again. And so I actually saw you guys are doing a fantastic job staying on top of this project and getting them pieced together. I saw someone who had all the blocks to date And you guys, I'm so excited because we're getting into the blues, the teals, the aquas, the greens. And so this way, you guys, it's going to start changing the complexity of that quilt. And I am very excited to see this kind of mature and age over time. We've been in super hot red, orange, yellows for a while. We transitioned into a cooler green. Now we're going to go teal and blue and indigo. And so make sure that if you guys are doing the pillows or the large blocks or the stitches, to go in and make sure you get those orders in for them so we can ship them to you on time. Because those aren't subscriptions, so they're not automatically going to come to you. So you have to make sure you go to the website and take a look for those. If you are interested in joining our Platinum, which is our Choose Your Own Adventure membership for Modern Maker, Classic, and Java, the signups for those are going to close on Saturday in order to get June's box. So make sure you sign up so you can get the email and choose your own shipment for the month of June. We're going to start talking about Mystery 5.0 next week. And so we have 5 colorways. The kits are going to be available for just July 1st. I know we're talking under the sea, you guys. We're looking at these Mystery 5.0s as kind of an add-on, as kind of a bonus project. Since they are going to be shorter duration, it is going to be a little different price point. I think you guys are going to be happy with this. But Mystery 5.0 is fun. Those clues are all coming together. And the fabric is actually being cut right now. So that way they will ship on time. I am happy to keep reporting that things are shipping on time. This is a good update. Last on our list is that our Earth Day challenge is going to be due next Tuesday. I've seen projects. You guys continue to blow my mind, inspire me. It is fantastic. You guys are doing great on this Earth Day challenge. It is going to be due Tuesday, and we'll be voting on that next week. I will allocate a portion of the show next week, and I'll get Paula to put some of the projects in so you guys can get kind of a taste of the creativity that is being shown. Michelle is asking the size of the Mystery 5.0 quilt. I think it's like 58 by 72-ish. It's not square. It is kind of a hybrid between the small and the large PMQ. So 58 by 70 something. Paula's going to get me that number and will probably shoot me. She'll throw me a Post-it note. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. And Ian is hosting a flyaway catch-up session next Saturday. So follow him. All that information's on the social medias. Paula, did I get everything that's going on in the shop? She is scrambling over here to find the sizes, guys. What's that? Sorry. So Ian's catch-up is bit.ly off-kilter catch-up. It's going to be a Zoom. Let's see here. Yes, Erin, the competition is really stiff for this Earth Day challenge. I am pleased. And I love that you guys some people have entered 1 and 2 entries, and it is sometimes 3 and 4. You guys, I am in love with this. It makes me so happy. 56 by 72. Hey, that's not bad for off the top of my head. All right. Fantastic. 56 by 72 for that Mystery 5.0. All right, today we are going to talk about Wideback fabrics. And so this is something that we're doing new for it's new for cotton cuts. It is new for the PMQ, and it is also new for Mystery 5.0. And so what we're doing is we're going to be offering Wideback fabrics to finish those quilts. They're easy, they're convenient. The Wideback options are like completely expanding and offering. I'm seeing more and more from manufacturers in a Wideback option. When Wideback first started, it was a lot of, hey, here's a tone on tone, or hey, here's a solid, or hey, here's something that's really boring. But the Wideback options have gotten so much better, and I feel like now is the right time to start integrating Wideback options into our program for finishing options. I'm going to show you guys what it means to be a Wideback fabric. It's more efficient and easier for you, but it's also way more efficient and expeditious for us as well. All right. Oh my gosh, you guys are jumping on this Wideback question. Holy cow. Let's see here. Will the design for Under the Sea be different? I don't know how to answer that, Helen, because I would say that probably every PMQ design is just a little different than the one before. And they all have kind of different themes to them. I would say when Sheila and I are looking at the designs, we try to integrate elements that we feel are on trend or topical. So for those of you that are participating in Flyaway, there's a lot of square within a square, a lot of economy blocks, because that was when we were designing it, that was very on trend, that was very topical. We have not done a lot of square within the squares for previous mysteries, so we integrated that a lot in Flyaway. Once we see Under the Sea, you're going to start seeing some recurring elements that are sewing techniques that we are seeing that are topical and on trend now. So we do try to integrate kind of of trends in the finished designs. Shelly Shay, I'm going to come back to that extra activity for Under the Sea in just a minute. Yes, definitely. Melissa Feldhaus, who runs with quilts. So Melissa, I'm going to have to ask you, when you run with your quilt, are you like running with the physical quilt, or do you run and quilt? Definitely hit the thumbs up, you guys, on this. Now back to the wide backs. Okay. So when I say wide back, I am talking about a fabric that is cut 108 inches wide. That is standard. However, like with everything, there's some variability. So you always want to check your wide back. 108 inches is the average, but sometimes it goes down to 96 and sometimes it goes as high as 118. So please, 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 when you're shopping for wide backs, check to make sure that it's going to be the right width that you want. And so what I have done is I've created, this was actually a lot of fun this morning. I created these little samples. So here's a bolt of fabric at your quilt shop, right? So you pop in and you're like, hey, I want to get some quilting fabric. And so here's what it looks like on the bolt. Here's what the wide back looks like on the bolt. They're almost the same, you guys. When you're looking at a bolt of fabric for wide back, they are almost the same when you're looking at them on the shelves. However, I want to show you one of the key differences to determine if a fabric is indeed a wide back or a regular quilting cotton. And so when you have your regular quilting cotton, right, and you get it cut out, they're going to come by and they're going to cut you your yard of fabric, boop, 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 boop. And when you get it home, it is going to be just folded in half. This is a traditional like 44-inch wide quilting cotton is rolled onto the bolt this way. Now, once we start talking about wide backs, you know, you've got this little bolt and they're going to cut it off for you. And then they cut it. What you are going to notice is that it is actually a piece of fabric that is actually folded in fourths. Right? So it looks the same on the bolt, and it might be, when I first saw wide backs, I was like, it doesn't look very much different than the regular. It is because it is actually folded in quarters like this and then rolled onto the bolt, which is how they're able to use very similar bolts and how they're able to be more efficient in their processes because they're able to get it to be in a similar unit that they're used to shipping when they ship a regular quilting cotton. So that's one of the first differences you'll notice with wide back is it's actually cut into quarters like this. Jana is asking if we can put the little mini bolts on the display behind me. We'll find some space for that. This is actually really cute. I kind of feel like this might be a thing coming up. Anyways, and so why would you use a wide back quilting option? And so when we look at finishing our quilts, right? So you've come up with this finished quilt design. This is a good chunk of people just really did was the Tree of Life. And so it finishes 72 inches by 72 inches. Now, the way that people have finished quilts for many, many years is they go and they get their traditional quilting cotton off the bolt, and it is 42 by 44 inches long, and they'll get it, and you guys can kind of see the problem, right? This is kind of the challenge we have is unless you're doing a baby quilt, standard width of fabric is not going to fit in one piece on the back of your quilt. I mean, I've seen people, get real darn creative and try and rotate it to get it to fit. But in this case, the standard quilting cotton is not going to necessarily fit in one piece on the back of your quilt. So what do? And so there's a couple very, very, very cute. There's a couple creative ways in which people have done this. So the first is you actually take two pieces and you stitch them together, and they go on the back of your quilt like so. And you have one seam that runs right down the middle. And this is quick. It is easy. I just take my two pieces of fabric. I stitch it. I have one seam on the back. As Teresa says, one of the assumptions for this working is you have to be able to sew a straight line over a long distance. As Gianna mentioned last week, that's a pretty heavy piece of fabric. Getting that line to be straight is going to be very difficult, but very, very, very doable, right? I take my piece, I sew it to another piece, bam, I have the back of my quilt. However, in this situation, if we sew two 44-inch pieces together, it's going to be too big, right? It might be too big, and you're going to have some waste. This is simple, but you do have a lot of waste in this method. Now, an alternative way of what I've seen people do is, and to be clear, other people, I mean me, I'm super efficient and stingy with fabric. And so what I will do is I will actually take my one piece and then I will rotate it, and I'm going to cut these other two pieces, and I'm going to have three seams. I have on the back of quilts have many, many seams where I'm like, oh no, I'm out of this fabric. Okay, but I can squeeze like a little bit here and a little strip this way. And before you know it, This back of this quilt is practically another piece of patchwork. But in this case, right, I've got my piece of fabric going this way. I rotate it and I get two pieces together this way, and I might have some other random pieces to get it to be big enough to where I can actually quilt it on a long arm. Now, the problem with this way is it does not work for directional prints. So if you have a print that has a direction to it, has a big repeat. I know we have a backing that has like a Christmas scene on it. In that case, some of my Christmas trailers will be going this way. And then in this case, they're like, north-south migration. And so it does not work for a directional print. And so if you're trying to use a traditional quilting cotton and it has a directional print, you have a lot more waste. It has a lot more cost, and it is a little inefficient. Now, mind you, all of these methods are great. All of these methods work. This is how I've been doing quilts for a ridiculous number of years, right? It always works to do it. However, whenever you do a cotton cuts quilt, it's always 8 yards of fabric for a large quilt in order to be able to cover all of it once you add extra borders. That is a lot of piecing for you guys. And it's a lot of math like, hey, if I run it this way, and I don't know about you guys, but measuring 72 inches on a floor, my knees aren't as young as they used to be. It is really, really hard to cut all those dimensions and to get everything to make sure you fit the back of your quilt. So what manufacturers decided to try doing, and this is not new, this is something that goes back a long time, is they actually cut fabric that is 108 inches wide. That is 3 yards. That is a lot of fabric. And they're using the same processes to print on these wide backs that they use for the other traditional quilting cottons. So it is the same quality, it is the same caliber. It is just printed on a bolt that is 108 inches wide, 3 yards. 108 inches is also convenient because it is most commonly used as the definition for a king size quilt, 108 inches. Now, mind you, we can debate this. You can look on 15 different websites for what a king size quilt is. 108 inches generally will do a king size quilt with a single piece of fabric. And so what that means is if I have my 72 by 72 and I try to put it on here, guess what? I don't have any piecing. I can lay it on here. I can cut it the width of fabric. And yes, I will have some extras on the top and the bottom, but that's all I have to do. And then I have the back of my quilt. And it makes it very, very easy to I just have to measure one dimension, cut it, and my quilt will lay on it, and it will have plenty of perimeter all around it. It is one piece. There's no measuring on the floor. There's a whole bunch of things that are made much simpler with 108 inches. Beth is saying she likes minky backing as well in the 108 inch wide. I get that, because cutting minky, every single time you use scissors on minky, there is shedding and there is waste. And so this is definitely something I would suggest in minky as well. So why are we at Cotton Cuts doing wide backs, especially for Under the Sea and for Mystery 5.0? And so what we have found is that when we use our traditional little bolts of fabric, and we, find the coordinating and we take orders from you guys, is traditional bolts of fabric are not very conducive to cutting backing out of. And so if we have a 15-yard bolt of fabric, which is what they come standard from the manufacturer, it is a lot of shuffling and a lot of work to get 3.5 yards, 4.5 yards, 5 yards, and 8 yards out of a 15-yard piece of fabric, especially when that 15 yards can fluctuate by plus or minus 2 yards, especially when we're shorted from the manufacturer, especially when, we're measuring and we cut out the 8 yards and then you have 7-ish left. How do you decide what gets cut? We're also finding that we're having a lot of waste at the end. You guys know I hate waste. I hate extra fabric. It's not waste, it's scraps, I think. Melissa said it's not scraps, but sometimes we'll have like these 2-yard pieces at the end, and we'll have 10 bolts that have 2-yard pieces at the end. And that's not a piece we can send to you guys, because you guys want 4.5, you guys want 5, you want 8 yards. And we have all these 2-yard pieces of fabric, and it's not super efficient for what we do. And so we want to make sure that we're making the right decisions for all parties involved, for us as well as for you guys. And so that's why we're migrating to wide backs. And so when we look at having wide backs for the Puzzle Mystery Quilt, if you were doing a small, with or without borders, it does not matter. You are going to get a 2-yard piece of wide back. That will make the backing you need for your quilt, with or without borders, and you'll have enough to probably get a second quilt in there too, depending on how efficient you are. If you're doing the large, you're going to get a 3-yard cut, and you should be able to easily, with or without borders, you'll be able to get it onto that backing of that fabric and have leftovers, have scraps, not waste, but you'll have leftovers. It also, those bolts are cut such that if we do a 2-yard and a 3-yard cut, it's super efficient for us. We don't have random parts and pieces left over at the end, and we can accommodate for manufacturing variability in a way that makes sense for everybody. And so that is why you're going to start seeing more wide backs from us. All the wide backs for Under the Sea are on the website now. When we start talking about Mystery 5.0, we've picked out wide backs for that as well that coordinate with the fronts. I do want to talk a little bit about the fabric selection for wide backs for Under the Sea. And so in this situation, right, we're learning about different manufacturers and their inventory and their processes and their pipelines. And so wide back manufacturing is something that is increasing quite significantly over the next 12 to 24 months. And so we're seeing some change in the suppliers and their offerings. And so what we did when we picked the wide backs for Under the Sea is we picked wide backs that would work well with the front of the quilt. So we looked at the finished design. You may look at these wide backs and go, how is this ever going to work with the design? And we actually looked at matching a wide back with the finished design. They might not be from the same manufacturer, but it is a color that does coordinate with the finished quilt design because we want you guys to be happy with it. You may look at it and be like, why is there a neon green with Triton? And it's because when we looked at it, it's going to work. So we got to have you guys trust us with this, that we have picked a backing that we think is that you're going to love. We also found a huge catalog of batik wide backs, which is not something that traditionally has been available, but we have, because most people buy batiks from Hoffman or Robert Kaufman, who don't have a lot of wide back options. There are other manufacturers that are increasing their capability here. And so we have found some beautiful batik wide backs to make sure that if you're doing a batik on the front of your quilt, you get a batik offering for the back of your quilt. All right, so that is why we are doing that. And we think you guys are going to love it more. Yes, Oasis, Josie is asking about Oasis. And so, yes, this is something that when you look at Oasis and you look at the backing, you're going to be like, why? Trust us. It is definitely something, the backings are going to highlight a lot of the colors that are present in the front of the quilt. Helen is asking if you can use leftover wide back fabric and other quilt blocks. Most definitely. They are made on the same machines, the same presses, and the same process as a 44-inch wide fabric they're using for the wide backs. Now they're used in different countries because it requires a larger capacity machine. And just like the, quilting cotton, when it first started out, it wasn't very good. But the wide backs, now that the capacity is increasing and the muscle is building, the wide back quality is improving as well. Let's see here. I don't know why we're talking about English paper piecing. I think I might have missed a comment on that, but I'm sure there's probably some interesting discussion going on there. But yes, and so Teresa's saying she uses her extra wide backs to make placemat, mug rugs, bowl cozies. Like I said, if you do just a small without borders, you could probably get 2 smalls on a single cut of wide back. It's just the way it's working. And when it comes to pricing, the wide back fabric actually per yard, per actual surface area is cheaper for you guys than the 44 by 45 inch wide fabrics. Plus, as I talked about on last week's show, pricing is going up at all of our manufacturers. This is just the current state of the world that we live in. And so if we had done traditional backing like this, I don't know what the pricing of this fabric is going to be in 3, 4, 5 months. And so I want to make sure that nobody gets surprised any direction. And so it just made sense for now to be the right time for us to try these wide back fabrics and kind of see how you guys like them, see how we like them, see how it works for everybody. If you guys get these wide backs and it's like not working for you, please let us know. Like we definitely want to make sure that we're continuing to make everyone as happy as possible throughout. But if you guys like the wide backs for Under the Sea and for Mystery 5.0, we'll keep doing that because it's better for a lot of people involved. Oh, yes, that scraps for piecing are great for English paper piecing. Oh, Donnell, don't worry about it. I love English paper piecing. I would also think that, you get long pieces here, and Marie Singer is a big fan of borders on fabrics that are longer. And so if you have a 108-inch piece, you can definitely get strips for borders out of it. So if you have a backing fabric and you want to make sure that it's integrated as a border to the front, you can use your extra fabric to make borders for the front of your quilt. So that way you tie the backing into the front. That is definitely a viable option for some of the extra fabric you might have. All right. Why do you guys like it? Because there's fewer seams. It saves times. It's ideal for long arm quilting. I feel like if you've never used or seen a wide back, going to a long armor or going to a long arm shop is a fantastic way to see some of the options that are available, because long armors love wide backs. They don't have to deal with, us wonky piecers and the stitches and the piecing and, us being short a few inches or having to trim up a whole lot. So definitely long armors love the wide backing, and it just creates a nice clean finish on the back of your quilt as well. Let's see here. So I think that, so Paula wrote this and I read it and I feel like I have to read it to you guys. So think of wide back fabric like the superhero for your quilt back. One piece, no fuss, and it makes the whole quilt look polished and finished without any extra seams to line up or piece together, right? So I feel like that's definitely, we're going to try it. If you guys don't like it, then we'll go back. We'll figure out another way. So for Under the Sea, another change we're making is we're shipping all the backing fabrics with Clue 1 or with your prepaid box. Same with Mystery 5.0. You're going to get the backing with your Mystery 5.0 kit. And so this makes me very, very, very nervous. And so I want to make sure that you guys, when you get this backing, you hold on to it, you label it, you put it in a place where it will stay safe for 10 months. 10 months is a long time. It is a long journey. Some of you move 2 and 3 times in that 10-month period of time. Please, please, please do not lose your wide back fabric. Make sure you hold on to it. Make sure you know where it's kept. Make sure that it is in a safe place, because if you call us after Clue 10, we are probably not going to have that fabric, and the way the manufacturing works is going to be really hard for us to get it back in stock. And so definitely make sure you're tracking it. This is why we haven't shipped backings with Clue 1s in the past, because I've been very nervous about this and about sending something that's going to get lost and then we have to replace again. So definitely make sure you guys are marking it and keeping track of it. Now, if this is something that makes you uncomfortable, I know not everyone's super comfortable with change, and wide backs are something that, not everyone is familiar and comfortable with. If you do want to go back to a traditional method where you've got these options in front of you, like these are legit, guys, these are real. We will have our extra fabric for Under the Sea that we will post on the website at about month 7 or 8. So if you really want to just get yardage, if you want to get, as many people get half a yard of all the different prints and they put together special things on the front and back. If that's you and that's your jam, that is definitely still an option. There is a link that is on the website. There's a link that goes on the email to you to make sure that you can sign up for a wait list to be the first to notified when those fabrics are available. That is definitely still going to be an option. However, it is dependent upon our availability of fabric. So for some of the fabrics, we might have just enough to do the PMQ and have no yardage left over. So you are taking a little bit of a risk. We traditionally do have enough for you to be able to get backings out of your colorway. It just might not be the fabric you prefer or you prioritize, but there will always be fabric left over. And make sure you sign up for that wait list, because those people get an email a couple days ahead of everyone else to make sure you get the first chance. Good morning, Crystal. I see you there. We asked your question early on about pens and marking. And so you'll have to check the comments when these get posted, because we had a lot of fantastic suggestions for you that ranged from, I still have it, my Micron pen, all the way up through crayons. All right, let's see here. If we do the small size and buy the backing, would there be enough to make the binding? Yes, Kelly, there will definitely, if you have a small size and you buy the backing kit, you will have enough to make the binding. However, I want to make sure for new people that might not know, for Clue 10, for the Puzzle Mystery Quilt, we include binding fabric in it. Binding is at the 6 o'clock position, which I will show you here. So when you look at the color wheel, the binding fabric that we have selected is in the 6 o'clock position of the wheel. And so if you are, that's definitely going to come to you. You can use that for binding. You can also use that backing and make borders and make your own binding, guys. It's your quilt. I've seen a lot of people opt out of the border kits that we sent and put their own borders on it, and it looks fantastic. It looks amazing. It's your quilt. You guys do you. My feelings are not hurt if you choose not to use our kits. It is your quilt. I want you to love it, and I want you to appreciate it for a long time. Plus, I mean, if you're giving it as a gift, it's okay. It's your quilt. You do whatever you want with your own quilt. I am not going to be your quilt police today. All right. That is everything that I had about wide backs. I look forward to seeing what you guys think of this, how you like it, of the process as it goes along. Paula, did I get everything? Oh, yes. Okay. So for next week's show, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all 17 of the Puzzle Mystery Quilts prior to this one. And so Paula has created like fun image cards so we can kind of take you through and show you the evolution of the design. A lot of people are asking, you know, how is the design? How is it different? I'm going to show you guys all the images of everything that's happened over time so you can see that while it's all the similar concept, it's all very, very different. So we will do that show next week. So I know that it was kind of advertised as today. It's going to be next week's show. Well, we had a lot to talk about when it came to Widebacks. We wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time on this. Let's see here. So Jan is asking about she's being charged for shipping. So if you are doing Under the Sea, prepaid does ship free, but if you do add that backing, it's going to charge you shipping because it does cost us a little bit more. And so that's if you add anything to the cart, it is going to charge you shipping on that. All right. So thank you guys for hanging to the end of the show. We have our normal giveaway. So find this video on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Instagram and answer this question. And we'll give one lucky person a $25 gift card. So the question to answer this week is, like Widebacks as a shortcut to finishing the backing of your quilt and getting your quilt done, what is your favorite shortcut or time-saving tip that makes finishing your quilt faster or easier? This could be about binding. This could be about backing. This could be about batting. What is your favorite shortcut or time-saving tip that makes that last finishing the quilt go so much faster or easier? Marlene's asking, can we use both the code in our early access and an ambassador? Absolutely. You're going to want to look for coupon code at checkout, and that's where you're going to put your ambassador code in. It's going to add a gift to your cart, and you can put your early. All that can add, all that can stack. And if it doesn't work, just by all means, give us a call or send us an email. We are always happy to help get all these little things worked out for you. All right, Paula, did I get it all? She's giving me the nod, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are good. That is it for me. Happy signups, everybody. Everyone have a fantastic weekend wherever you are. I hope that all of those gray clouds clear away. Oh, Shelly Shay is asking about what we were doing with Under the Sea. Okay, so we're percolating on something new. When we put out the survey in the Facebook group and asked you guys what you wanted to do, if you wanted to do a flat Nancy, if you guys wanted to do a challenge, if you wanted to do a swap. And so we're percolating on something new. We're going to do a throwback to, if you guys have been watching the show for a while, to my very, very first quilt I made, which is consistent with the theme. And so we're percolating on how to do that in a way that'll be fun for everybody. So stay tuned, Shelly, on that. I appreciate you asking the question, but we are going to come back to that as we get closer to Clue 1 finishing and shipping and dropping. All right. That is it for me now, everyone, gang. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. I hope you guys get lots of time outdoors and indoor sewing, and we will see you guys next week. That's all. Have a great weekend, and bye now. And cut. Thank you so much for watching our video. We have so much fun making these, and we hope that you were both delighted and inspired by what you just watched. This video was sponsored by Cotton Cuts. Cotton Cuts is your one stop for all the best fabric and thread memberships. Love fabric? We've got you covered. Love thread? We've got you covered. We get that no two quilters are cut from the same cloth, which is why our memberships are as unique as you. We also have the largest block of the month in the world. Over 4,000 detectives solve our puzzle mystery quilts every year, and you can join them. Simply go to cottoncuts.com to learn more about all the awesome and fun things that we're doing. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to make sure you get all of our new, fresh content every time it comes out. Thank you so much. Happy sewing enthusiasts, and we will see you soon. Bye now.